Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Afid bin Muhammad Zahir. I am from Polytechnic Tuanku Syed Sirajuddin. And today I will explain to you guys about user account control. And now you will see the content of my slides. Firstly, I will talk about definition of user account control. And then the next slide, it will be the tasks that trigger a UAC prompt. And then the next slide, I will talk about features of UAC. And then requesting elevation. And lastly, I will tell you about its security. And now I will tell you guys about its definition. User account control is a mandatory access control enforcement facility introduced by Microsoft Windows Vista and Windows Server 2008 operating system. It aims to improve the security of Microsoft Windows by limiting application software to standard user privilege until an administrator authorizes an increase or elevation. UAC uses mandatory integrity control to isolate running process with different privilege. It's to reduce the possibility of lower privileged application communicating with higher privileged ones. Another new technology, which is user interface privilege isolation, is used in conjunction with user account control to isolate this process from each other. Next, tasks that trigger a UAC prompt. It was tasks that require administrator privilege will trigger a UAC prompt. If UAC is enabled, they are typically marked by a security shield icon with the four colors of Windows logo. This is the following tasks that require administrator privilege. First, running an application as administrator. Then change to system-wide settings. Change to file in folder that standard user don't have permission for, such as system root or program files in most cases. Change to an access control list, which is ACL, commonly referred to as file or folder permission, and then installing and uninstalling application outside. Next, installing device drivers, installing ActiveX controls, changing settings for Windows Firewall, changing UAC settings, configuring Windows Update, adding or removing user accounts, changing a user account name or type, creating a new account or deleting a user account. Lastly, turning on guest account, which is Windows 7 and 8.1. Alright, on this slide, you will know about the features of UAC. UAC asks for credential in a secure desktop mode, where the entire screen is temporarily dim. Windows arrow disabled and only the authorization window at full brightness to present only the elevation user interface. Normal application cannot interact with the secure desktop. This helps prevent spoofing, such as overlaying different text or graphic on top of the elevation request, or tweaking the mouse pointer to click the confirmation button when that's not what the user intends. If an administrative activity comes from a minimized application, the secure desktop request will also minimize so as to prevent the focus from being lost. It is possible to disable secure desktop. Though this is inadvisable from a security perspective. In earlier version of Windows, application written with the assumption that the user will be running with administrator privilege experience problems when run from limited user accounts, often because they attempt to write to machine-wide or system directories, such as program files or registry keys. Alright, now it's time to requesting elevation. A program can request elevation in a number of different ways. One way for program developers is to add a requested privilege section to an XML document known as the manifest that is then embedded into the application. A manifest can specify dependencies, visual styles, and now the appropriate security context. Setting the level attribute for requested execution level to ASLN vocal. It will make the application run with the token that started it highest available, will present a UAC prompt for administrators and run with the usual reduced privilege for standard users. And require administrator will require elevation. In both highest available and require administrator modes, failure to provide confirmation result in the program not being launched. An executable that is marked as require administrator in its manifest cannot be started from a non-elevated process using create process. Instead, error elevation require will be written. Shall execute or shall execute X must be used instead. Inspecting an executable manifest to determine if it requires elevation is not recommended, as elevation may be required for other reasons, which is setup executable or application compatibility. However, if it is written, if elevation is not required, a such as written code will be written at which point one can use terminate process on the newly created suspended process. This will not allow one to detect that an executable requires elevation if one is already executing in an elevated process. In the absence of a specific directive stating what privilege the application requests, UAC will apply heuristics to determine whether or not the application needs administrator privilege. For example, if UAC detects that application is a setup program from clues such as the file name, versioning field, or the presence of certain sequence of bytes within the executable, in the absence of a manifest, it will assume that the application needs administrator privilege. Lastly, it will be security of UAC. UAC is a convenience feature. It neither introduces a security boundary or prevents execution of malware. Leo Davidson discovered that Microsoft weakened UAC in Windows 7 through exemption of about 70 Windows programs. Stephen Cantor present a proof of concept for a privilege escalation via UAC installer detection and iExpress installers. Stephen Cantor present another proof of concept for arbitrary execution as well as privilege escalation via UAC auto elevation and binary planting. And that will be the end of my presentation. Don't forget to press the like button and subscribe my channel, gang. Thank you. Bye bye.